ADHD is the most expensive thing in my life. Hi, and welcome back to Engineering ADHD, the channel where we try to make sense of this thing called attention deficit hyperactivity disorder. Today I want to talk about an observation I recently had, and that's that ADHD is by far the most expensive thing in my life. And I don't mean just the impulse purchases, I don't mean just the I want this so I'll order it right now type of a situation. I mean indirect expenses that come from the symptoms of ADHD are often much bigger than we think they are. At least I've noticed that recently anyway. Whether that's paying premium for gas because you forgot to get it when it was cheap. Buying takeout food because you didn't feel like or completely forgot to go get groceries. Paying late fees on every bill because you completely forget to pay them. And of course, the impulse purchases when we're out shopping. As my wife knows, if she sends me to buy 6 things at the store, I'm either coming back with 5 or 50. We don't know which one. I guess we'll figure out when I get home. But either way, all of these things start to add up. Even if you take a look at using some of the expensive convenience ATMs because you completely didn't think ahead and stop at your bank on the way home. Yes, it's only $2 for that ATM and probably $2 for your bank for using that ATM, so it's $4 to get that $100 out. And it becomes a 4% surcharge as opposed to paying nothing if you had stopped at your actual bank's ATM. Now, don't get me wrong. I completely understand that the entire banking model is set up to steal from the poor and give to the rich. It's that simple. But we don't have to help them. Financial responsibility is one of those markers and one of those things that when I look around the ADHD community, I see that it is very common that we struggle with. There are some easy solutions, there are some easy wins. I don't have this figured out entirely in any way. So I'm not going to sit here and get on a soapbox and say, hey, look, I've got this all figured out, because I don't. But I will give you some of the advice, and I will give you some of the tips that I have found work for me. As with all things ADHD, understanding is the first step in properly working with the symptoms of ADHD. Knowledge is definitely power. G.I. Joe was right. We definitely need to understand the situation before we can start to deal with it. And one of the ways to do that is to actually take some time every month, go through your bank statements, and figure out where your money is going. Now, if you're like me, that is much harder to do than you think it should be because all you see in your bank statement is ATM withdrawal, $400, ATM withdrawal, $200. Nobody knows where that's going. There are several apps that you can download for your phone that you can keep track of where you're spending cash. My dad taught me very early on that cash is never questioned and you should always have some on you. I always keep cash on me, but it's a double-edged sword, as I said. Because when you look at the bank statement, you don't know where that money necessarily went. So I use an expense tracker on my phone to try to keep track of where that money is going. And when I looked at it, and when I looked at the extra fees that I'm paying, when I looked at the late fees that I'm paying for paying bills late, when I looked at the convenience charges that are all over the withdrawals that I've taken out, I've realized that there is a substantial amount of money that's going into this. And as the title of this video, ADHD is by far the most expensive thing in my life. One of the biggest ones for me, if I didn't feel like going out or I just couldn't deal with people, was getting food delivered to my apartment. It never seems like much money at once. So, okay, you're ordering food to your house and it's $60 for that meal. It's a lot of food. It's for 2 people, don't get me wrong, it's not just me. So you're ordering it, you're spending $60. $60 doesn't seem much, but you multiply that by 5 days a week and that's $300. And that's all of a sudden a substantial amount of money. But if you don't have the vision that that's what's going on, you're never going to be able to get on top of it. Several of us have dealt with it by having partners who don't have ADHD, who will manage the money in the relationship, and if that's the situation that you have, then that's probably a great way to work through that. In my particular world, that's not the way this works. I'm the one who tries to make sure that all the bills are paid, that tries to keep groceries in the house. These are my responsibilities around the house. So I need to work with my ADHD. I need to understand where all of this money is going, and I need to come up with strategies to be accountable for it. So going forward, as I said, I'm starting to use an application on my phone with where I track every cent that I spend, and I'm being accountable to myself in that I look at it, and if it doesn't add up to the amount of money that's going into my bank account with my paycheck, I need to figure out what happened. I'm looking at the impulse spending, whether that be just random parts from my other channel, whether that be expensive lunches because I didn't want to make one to take to work, whether that be eating out because I didn't go get groceries. I'm trying to track and I'm trying to be accountable for how much money ADHD is costing me. I'm trying to get into healthy patterns and a healthier mindset when it comes to finances. Now, savings-wise, I've had a strategy for a while, and that's that I forget that it exists. My retirement savings, for example, is taking off of my pay. The company I work for contributes an equal amount. It goes into my RRSP, and I forget that it's there. I have tax-free savings account as well, and what money goes into there, I forget that it exists. And that helps me not touch it, and that really helps the impulse control. The other thing I've done in the past is to have a joint bank account where somebody else will see what you're doing. Whether that be a parent, a spouse, a sibling, somebody you care about, that can be that check and balance and hold you accountable for accessing money that exists, even though it's yours, they'll hold you accountable, and that will help you to stay on track. ADHD is the most expensive thing that I have in my life. If you have any suggestions, if you have any stories of ways that ADHD has cost you money that I didn't mention here, that I didn't think of, please comments down below. I love the discussions that we have. Once again, as always, if you want to have a more private discussion because you don't feel comfortable in the public forum of the comments down below, at the end of this video there is always an email address. By all means, email me. I love having conversations with you guys. It makes the connection feel a little more real for me. I want to thank you for joining me on Engineering ADHD. I hope you learned something today. And remember, there will always be someone who does not see the unique gifts of your mind. Don't let that person be you.